Dynasty Warriors 3 Xtreme Legends was an expansion pack to the original Dynasty Warriors 3 that added numerous gameplay modes and improvements. The game also set the standard where Koei would release additional content for most Musou games after the initial launch, which was followed for a decade. The game brought many additions and could even be enjoyed without the original game. But how has the expansion held up? Does it stand on its own? And is it worth incorporating into the original Dynasty Warriors 3's content? Let's find out.
The battle is as good as won.
We will show them the futility of their resistance!
Dynasty Warriors 3 Xtreme Legends was released roughly a year after the original game's initial launch and was the first in the company's Xtreme Legends updates. As with other Xtreme Legends expansions, all new content doesn't require the vanilla game to be played, but save data can be transferred over from the original Dynasty Warriors 3, and the game's data can be imported using the Load Original option, allowing players to play all content from both Dynasty Warriors 3 and the Xtreme Legends expansion. Xtreme Legends Dynasty Warriors 3 doesn't make any drastic changes to the mechanics or basic structure of the original game. You still take on the role of one of a handful of iconic characters to mow down hundreds of enemy soldiers from the Three Kingdoms period in China. Specifically in this game, all characters in the other category, with the exception of Fushi and Nuwa, have been given their own story modes. There's also an additional 4 challenge mode stages, 3 of which are wholly new, and 1 that lets you run all the other new ones back to back. The very hard difficulty is now unlocked from the start, instead of being only unlocked after completing all characters' Musous on hard mode, and now lures players in with a chance to unlock the ultimate 5th level weapons for all the game's 41 characters. Perhaps because of the base game's difficulty in early play, there's also an all-new novice difficulty included in the game. Finally, there are a handful of new items added to the game that have some very unique modifiers, and the bodyguard system has been revamped with more customization options for the bodyguard squads in addition to the option to have an individual playable character become a bodyguard instead. Personally, I found this to be a great improvement. The legion of guards that followed you in the base game never seemed to help me all that much, and reducing it just to 1 guard means you won't always be running into them with your horse, temporarily stopping you in your tracks, a feature I always found very annoying in Dynasty Warriors 3. As previously mentioned, Xtreme Legends Dynasty Warriors 3 comes with several new Musou modes for the likes of Yan Shao, Lu Bu, and Zhang Jiao, as well as all other characters that weren't aligned with one of the big 3 factions of the era, excluding Fushi and Nuwa. On the bright side, it's great to finally be able to take these characters through their own battles, and not have to grind their progression on missions which they were never present at. There are several new missions added for each faction, and these missions have far more well done cutscenes than those missions found in the original game. Unfortunately, that's really where the positives end for me in the handful of new stages that there are. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the missions are much weaker and just not as engaging as those found in the original game, and most are just old stages that were slightly remixed. It honestly feels kind of lazy. There really was an opportunity to add some great scenes from the novel into Dynasty Warriors 3 that weren't originally present, but instead of making something original, they made a handful of badly written what-ifs so that they could reuse stages such as Chirby repeatedly.
Is this how you choose to repay my generosity?
For example, Lu Bu is a very important character to the Three Kingdoms story, beyond just being present as the big bad at Hulao Gate. They completely missed the opportunity to demonstrate how complex of a character Lu Bu is in his relationships to Liu Bei, Cao Cao, and Yuan Shao, and instead continue the two-dimensional archetype of him being an all-powerful but blubbering oaf. A lot of the what-if stages just don't make sense. Why would Dong Zhuo and Lu Bu fight at Red Cliff at all from a geographical perspective? And why would Wu, of all factions, ever choose to ally with Dong Zhuo? I hate to say it, but Omega Force has never been the best at producing original stories for the series, and this is the first of many examples.
I was getting tired of hunting anyway. You heard the lady. Let's move!
I will say that I did enjoy the Nanman What If campaign a bit more than the others, but most of the Musou modes are just lacking on their own. Of course, the game isn't all bad. Aside from the new missions, there is a stack of new content that really shines if you play the game after loading the original Dynasty Warriors 3's data in. 4 new challenge mode types have been added into the game, 3 wholly original as well as the marathon-esque mode Iron Man, where you play all 3 back to back. These include Speed Demon, where you try and race through an entire stage to get to the finish line as fast as possible, Balancing Act, where you rack up as many KOs as you can without falling off of a tiny bridge, and Combo Mania, where you try and get the largest combo possible. As in the original game's challenge stages, these are a fun divergence, but I never saw myself going back to them after a couple of runs. The real meat and potatoes of Dynasty Warriors 3 Xtreme Legends is the introduction of a host of new items and the all-new 5th level weapons for all characters in the game. The game ships with the ability to unlock 16 new items. These items are considerably weirder and more varied than those found in the original game, and a lot of the effects would become mainstays of the series, being incorporated as just straight gameplay improvements into later Warriors entries. They do a superb job of mixing the gameplay up, and bring quality of life improvements that are hard to step away from once you've tried them out. All Dynasty Warriors 3 characters can now also unlock the ultimate 5th level weapons by completing certain objectives on the game's hardest difficulty. These are really what make the Xtreme Legends experience shine, in my opinion. Many of the 5th level weapon models look utterly terrifying and impressive, and trying to unlock the 5th weapons for all the characters is what I found myself focusing on during my run of the game. Xtreme Legends adds hours and hours of content if you try and get all of the new items and weapons, and this extra time does not disappoint. Dynasty Warriors 3 Xtreme Legends doesn't fetch a very high price nowadays. Unfortunately, the game was only released on the PlayStation 2, despite the Xbox sporting a technically superior version of Dynasty Warriors 3. If you played the original on PS2 and are interested in experiencing the best Dynasty Warriors 3 can offer, I'd say Xtreme Legends is absolutely worth remixing into your Dynasty Warriors 3 experience. Unfortunately, if you played the original on Xbox and are just interested in seeing what Xtreme Legends has to offer, or plan to play Xtreme Legends without loading in the original game's content, I'd honestly just tell you to pass on Dynasty Warriors 3 Xtreme Legends. Although the game is in principle fully playable as a standalone game, it just doesn't have enough interesting stages or content to justify going through.
Why, that idiot! He's taking away from my victory!
Xtreme Legends shines as a complementary piece to the original game, not as a game on its own. It's still a nice amount of content, and later Xtreme Legends entries would improve on the concept of a Muso expansion significantly. Again though, I don't think this game was ever truly meant to be played as a standalone title, and taken as just a set of expanded content for the original game, it thoroughly shines. Thanks for tuning into my review of Dynasty Warriors 3 Xtreme Legends. If you liked this video, be sure to drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more retrospective reviews of the Muso series.